Welcome to the Story Engine Podcast. I'm Kyle Gray, story strategist and mentor to world-changing entrepreneurs. This podcast is more than just an interview. Every week, I work live with 6, 7, and 8-figure experts just like you to craft powerful, stage-ready stories that drive sales, spark movements, and grow authority. If you're ready to turn your message into a high-converting talk, then you've come to the right place. Hello and welcome to the Story Engine Podcast. My name is Kyle Gray, and today on the show we have Rae Irelan. Rae is a podcast production agency owner, and we're going to be sharing about some of the transitions that she's made in her business with AI that's helped benefit her and many of her customers by thinking about utilizing AI to take up those tiny little tasks that end up adding up quite a bit. So we're going to explore her story and transformation with you today. So without any further ado, let's turn it over to Rae. Rae Irelan, welcome to the Story Engine Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am really excited to dive into your brilliance today, but before we do, can you introduce yourself by telling us a little bit about who you are and how you're showing up in the world today?
Absolutely. I am a mom and a wife first and foremost, and been able to really take a story that I have of a near death suicide attempt that happened over a decade ago. And I've been able to take that to catalyze different business opportunities around coaching and leadership development. So I have done that for myself and then transitioned into supporting others in really understanding their story and their mission and how to share that using the vehicle of podcast and storytelling. And more recently, I have gotten really excited around potentials with AI and how AI can scale and grow impact and legacy businesses, and bringing in technology and AI to do all the parts that we shouldn't be focusing on as founders and entrepreneurs, so that founders and entrepreneurs can do more of this, connect and share their story, and be in their visionary creative state. So that's like a little snippet of what I've been up to in the world lately.
I think that's beautiful. And it sounds like by being a wife first and foremost, and a wife and a mother, that you're doing what's most valuable to you as well, and the systems are serving you. So I'd love to start with you mentioned things that executives and entrepreneurs should be focusing on versus what they shouldn't be focusing on. What are some of these things in each category?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really got, me and my husband Sammy really got into AI, especially because our son was born, and then the 2 days after ChatGPT came out. And so for any new parent listening, you kind of know the drill. It's like you don't sleep. So we all of a sudden had 8 extra hours on our hands that most people are usually sleeping during. So we kind of dove all into understanding and learning and being really early adopters of AI. And what we found at the time, we only had our media and podcast production company. And so a lot of people were coming to us asking, what about AI podcasts and this and that? And we spent a lot of time kind of seeing what are the possibilities of what we could do here when it comes to media and storytelling and AI. And what we pretty quickly found was this really actually shouldn't be something that the founders are necessarily given to the robots. Um, podcast and things like this, when you're having conversations, building relationships, those are the things that the founders should be doing and staying in connection with and spending their time doing that. And we find that most people that are founders and entrepreneurs, they actually do want to do more of this too. So sometimes to take that off your plate sort of can kill some of the passion and connection to why you're building what you're building. So we pretty quickly realized, okay, there's parts of our media and podcast company that we can put and lean on AI with. But we had a lot of clients ask, hey, we want to do AI podcasts. And we really took a hard stand on saying, well, that's not what we do. We are AI consultants and we love AI and partnering with it, but you're not going to do an AI podcast with us. We want you real, we want you raw, we want you fumbling over your words if you're going to. We want you telling the stories that, really matter and kind of move you and move other people. So that's first and foremost something that we really stand behind is we believe that AI and technology should really amplify our ability to be more human and do more of the God-given gifts that each of us were given. So that's a little bit about what AI shouldn't really take over. Same thing with your creative time, your time to just connect with people. But what it should be taking over, a lot of people use the word efficiency, which we don't really love using because I think most high achieving entrepreneurs are already actually very efficient. It's just that they are doing things that a robot could do better. So that's where we start looking at where can you take things off your plate that are actually in its nature, it's kind of a robotic task. And how can you then delegate, automate, or shift, or just delete it off your plate so that way you can do more of the human things. So that's kind of where we start. And where we sort of end up going down rabbit holes, and it's kind of layer at a time because there's a lot of things that people and founders are doing that you've been doing it for so long, it's such a deep pattern, you're not even aware that you're spending energy or time doing certain things, and you become a robot, to be honest, and so you don't even realize that's happening. And so those are the things and the patterns that we can kind of start to see and then shift those stressors off your plate so that way you have more energy and focus to do what you were actually born and created to do.
I'm I'm curious about like what the process is to uncover those things, especially if it's something that I've been doing for a long time and I'm really used to doing. It probably doesn't come to my mind first thing when you ask, like, what should we get rid of? And so, how do you discover these things in different businesses?
Yeah, 100%. It all starts with a deep audit. So, when we're working with someone, that's what we're going to do first and foremost. And a lot of people say, well, I've done audits. And I'm like, okay, well, like, how seriously have you done it? Have you really looked at minute to minute? Because the cool thing with AI, there's so many different apps and things that you can utilize that will take a few minutes off, off a task that you're usually doing. The interesting thing is when you have all these like little 5 to 10 minute things that end up adding up to being hours of your time over the week and over a month and definitely over a year, the numbers start to get really shocking. So that's kind of we take a pretty analytical direction in it. We're also using AI to help the different clients that we're working with. Not everyone is able to physically track every little thing that they're doing. I know that can be a really tedious thing if someone's already feeling beyond capacity. So we help them, and first just getting a trackable system so that way we can see what's actually going on. And then you really just kind of do the math, you add up the numbers, you show them what has happened. And every single person that we worked with has this jaw-dropping moment because they might know and they might be calculating on the day-to-day, like, oh yeah, I do this and I do that, but they don't know what that multiplies into becoming. So once we put it into a number of like, this is how much time you're spending per month, we know monthly, hourly things, because most founders, you have people working under you that are usually salary or hourly, right? So you start to convert that and you start to think about your time, your hourly rate versus what you're doing. And literally every single person we worked with has a jaw-dropping moment where they realize, I can't believe I've been doing this. And secondly, I can't believe that there's actually solutions to move this off my plate, not like over the span of 6 months, but actually like even just within 30 days.
Mm. I think that's a really cool way to expand and find those minutes that people wouldn't normally be using, and so it adds up to a lot of time. And I also it sounds like they're busy in a lot of ways. What are some of the main problems that somebody with a bunch of these repetitive tasks would be experiencing or feeling that would make them a great fit for this?
Yeah, the worst part is that some of those repetitive task are also a huge energy drain. So it's not that it's just something like annoying and repetitive, it's that it actually is sucking more energy than what it's producing, those different various tasks. And it really changes per person. But when we start to look at not only just the time, the numbers, but we look at sort of an energetic score as well. If okay, if you were to take these things off your plate, yeah, you might get 20 hours a week back. But out of those 20 hours, what are some of those things where, if you're sitting for an hour doing something excruciating, I mean, you finish the hour and you're like, I'm done with today. I just want to go to the beach or go to the mountains. Like, I'm over it versus doing an hour of something that is life giving and fulfilling you. That could be a whole momentum creator, right, for your business. So we look at that as well and take that into account. There's sort of this idea that I've heard floating around a bunch in a lot of conversations around burnout and what real burnout means. And it's like burnout, if you're looking at it like culturally, most people will say that they're burnt out. But is it because they're just over capacity, or is it because they're doing too much of something that they weren't actually designed to be doing? And that's where the conversation kind of ends up going, because it's really about getting that person in their genius seat. So that way, even if they are at full capacity, which most high performing entrepreneurs, founders are going to always be at capacity or even a little bit over capacity, at least it's fulfilling and it's fueling this desire to give back, to create impact, to serve others. And it's not something where it's actually draining them and then they don't have, anything extra for family and relationships and other things that are valuable and important to them.
What do you think you do differently in terms of there's not too many people well, there's a lot of like people proposing different AI solutions and things. And what do you think's unique about your philosophy that gets the people where they need to be better and faster?
Yeah, I think it's really there's a few pieces. So me and my husband Sammy do this together. We have been in business for around 5 years together, and or actually 4 years. And there's a unique dynamic when you're working with your husband, your partner. So that's something that we really bring to the table. We end up usually working with founders that are husband and wife oriented, and they have kids, they have a whole family life. So there's this whole other dynamic going on around how do we stay in balance with this business that we're really excited about, but it's also taking over our lives, and we really have a value of family and our marriage thriving. And so we really bring that to the table because that's something that is really important in the way that we grow and scale and continue to challenge and evolve each other. Um, and then, secondly, I would say just the dynamic between Sammy and I, because we bring two very different schools of thought to the table. I am more organized and systematic. Sammy is more sporadic and very visionary. So when we're working together, he really is the one that is very on top of what is the most cutting edge AI and these very creative, unique ways to plug those AI workflows and create different AI stacks depending on the different industry and role that we're working with. And then for me, I'm able to kind of take his idea and then I build out and create systems and make sure that the full team and everyone is understanding what this new wheel is going to end up looking like and how it's going to affect all the other pieces of business. So it's pretty fun that we get to bring our own unique gifts to the table and then be able to really help expand and turn the creative amazing genius ideas into actually something that is reality and becomes usually revenue drivers in the business without much overhead and without much extra drag, because we're able to implement things so quick with AI, and then everyone's really all on the same page and we can move things along at a very accelerated rate.
What do some of these extra hours add up to? I think there's some things where you mentioned everybody wants to spend more time with their family and it's like a better life, but You painted a big picture of how these little 10-minute things can add up to a lot of hours of energy drain. What do all of these freed up hours add up to for some of the people that you've worked with or in your own life?
Yeah, it's been a pretty consistent average of at least 40 hours a week, or sorry, 40 hours a month. And so with that time, we get to go into the vision and the space of like, hey, what are those either crazy business ideas that you've put on the shelf that have been there for 5, 10, 15 years that you just haven't had capacity to implement yet? Let's take those down and like see if that's actually a viable thing that we should be implementing or utilizing. But I'll give you another example. One company we were working with, it was a trucking company, husband and wife duo. They do heavy haul trucking, and we went in and they have 7 kids. So you can imagine they have quite a bit on their plate. And what they were able to do is get 40 hours a month back each. And then from there, we were able to pull off one of those ideas from the shelf, something that they had been thinking about for 10 years. And within a month, we created and implemented and executed a whole new arm of their business, ended up being a multi 6-figure revenue stream that literally got started within a month. And then from there, we're like, okay, now what? So they have a heart around missions and supporting other families, orphanages in the Philippines. So they are doing a family trip out there, mission trip, actually in just like a few weeks. They were not able to, have the capacity to be able to pull that off before. But dad is going to be going out with their oldest kids for 2 weeks, which is something that they dreamt about, is like being off of the business for weeks at a time, and still having everything smooth and running. And this is a like multi 8-figure business too, so it's substantial. And then the last thing that they were able to do, and we're still fully working with them, but some of the key points that we've been able to see, they told us about a month ago, and just like a week ago, we got confirmation that they just put in their papers to open their home to foster kids as well. So yeah, imagine a 7-kid family, and they're like, all right, we got more capacity, like business is rocking. They just bought 2 new trucks. Everything is growing, and they're like, and I think we can add another kid. Let's support some more kids. So it's
Wow.
pretty wild and pretty cool what we've been able to see.
Yeah, that's really beautiful and scalable
Hmm.
in their case. Um,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about a time where you were maybe in the early stages of this or just before, in the early stages of motherhood and having so many energy draining tasks. And I'd love to hear about like a specific time and place of maybe a breaking point of facing these same challenges that you're mentioning for your clients.
Yeah, I would say the breaking point was quite literal. So we were in major growth. Rafa was 2 years old, and we were having a lot of fun because of the growth in our business. And I think a lot of founders, thrive off of those seasons where it's like, oh my gosh, like things are taking off from here. And we were traveling a lot. We had a lot of speaking gigs booked for the whole entire year, and revenue was up, clients were up. We were hiring new people for the team, all of that stuff. And I quite literally had a full breakdown because I was also pursuing my dreams of being a dancer and singer. And that's, Kyle, that's one of the ways we got connected and became friends. Was pursuing that, was a part of a production, got a lead role. And in the middle of rehearsal, I ended up getting dropped by my dance partner and shattered my leg. Uh, Totally shattered my knee, broke my tibia in a bunch of places, and went into immediate emergency surgery. And the doctors told me it was going to be 8 months of not walking. And I could barely believe it because we had a full tour set up to be traveling, speaking as a family. I had a 2-year-old I was chasing around. It just felt like everything's going to come crashing down. And then, when things happen and it's like, this couldn't get worse. And then it does. That sort of happened. Sammy was out of town. I'm literally home alone with a 2-year-old on the couch. I'm basically living downstairs. We had to move a bed into the living room because I couldn't even go up the stairs. And my leg ends up breaking out into a huge, messy rash. Basically, it's like just dripping. I'm like, I don't think it's good that a broken leg is dripping right now. So I go into the emergency room, have this whole thing happen. I come home and I'm just exhausted. I'm thinking about the client. Sammy's gone. And then I get a phone call, and it's from our landlord in a house that we had been living in for years, right next to the beach. Amazing neighbors who were supporting us through this really hard time. And we get a call from the landlord saying, the owners are moving back in, and you have 60 days to move out. And it was just one of those moments where I felt like I was going to like just drop on the floor, in a complete puddle. And God whispered to me in that moment. He said, like you could do that, or like this might be there might be something really cool that I could do with this if you trust me and just lighten up. And so I was there with my mom. She could barely believe it. I saw like the fumes coming out of her ears. She's like, they're gonna kick you out. That's illegal. And we're like looking it up. Nope, 60 days, totally legal in California, even if you have a broken leg and a 2-year-old in a business. So I just started laughing, I'm like, well, I guess this is all part of a better plan. And, fast forward, we decided that we weren't going to move into a new home because that actually felt like too much to find the next, landing spot for our whole family. So we decided, hey, let's sell most of our stuff and let's just hit the road. And what that ended up doing was um, we went on that tour. I did the speaking gigs. I was up on stages with a broken leg. They would have a couch up there for me. And, Sammy wheelchaired me through a bunch of different airports, and we ended up traveling the world for a whole year. And so that's where we're at right now, is wrapping up a year almost to the date today. We moved out April 30th of last year. And so it became a huge blessing. We got to see the world and show our son something, a lifestyle that, most people only dream of.
Great turnaround. And can you tell us a little bit about a moment of the opposite frequency of victory, of like, oh, things are taken care of. I can just relax and be present here. Maybe your leg's healed. Maybe it's not yet at the time, but the systems that you were building really started taking care of you.
Yeah, totally. So it was pretty much at the beginning of that tour, where Sammy and I looked at each other and we said, okay, for us to be able to survive, we really need to do what we have been learning. Not only just learn and talk about AI, but we need to go all in on our life, because now we have to manage a whole family tour on top of the business and all this other stuff. We were moving around usually once a week, all around the world. And so it was really then and through those months, especially those first few months, of understanding and putting in place all the different ways that we could use AI, both in our business and our personal life, where things started to really click and people started to notice, and they would see us and say, hey, how are you guys doing? And everyone was like pretty worried about us because they're like, we know you have a broken leg and a little kid, and you guys are still kind of a new marriage, and you have this business. Like, are you guys actually okay? You don't even have a home. And we're like, to be honest, we haven't been happier. And so I think that's when things started really clicking, is like, wow, we've really found something here, and we could support others because we see other people just really bogged down by everything that they're doing, and they could be using AI. And we kind of thought that everyone was doing this. Like, isn't everyone implementing and utilizing these things? But as we talked to people, like, they weren't. They were just seeing it on Instagram, and kind of just taking in the information, but not actually implementing it. And so I would say, it happened in our own life, and we've been truly like happier than ever before in this last year. And I think it came specifically, we had done all of these speaking events and engagements, and we did get a little tired of that. We're like, okay, let's go retreat. So we're like, let's go do a month in Puerto Rico. So we went to Puerto Rico to go have like a surf hideout, basically. We didn't know anyone in Puerto Rico. There were no business events happening. We're like, we'll be safe there, because otherwise, if we get an invitation, we love being yes people and showing up. So we go out there, and what we ended up doing was surfing every single day. We would have half of the day just to our family and beach time, and we are doing homeschool on the sand and counting seeds. And then we ended up having one of our biggest revenue months. And at that same time, our clients were really having these huge aha moments of gaining their 40 hours of time back, and we just kind of sat there being like, this is real. Like, there's actually no going back. And that's when things started getting we got pretty like convicted in our hearts in terms of being able to talk about this and just say, it sounds a little crazy to just become these AI people and go all in, but podcasting and storytelling, it's still close to heart, but the impact that we can make and the true life change that we've experienced and what we're able to see with our clients, like we can do this for more people. And this is what will change generations and will change family legacies. So let's go all in. And so that's kind of the moment that changed for us. And the coolest thing I think was reflecting on it at the end of the year. We have our aura rings, and we looked, and this month where we had just like such big business growth, it was also our healthiest month we had the whole year, the most sleep, the most rest, the most relaxation. And so I just thought that was pretty interesting, the balance of being in nature and being adventurous and just connecting with locals there, and then tied with utilizing technology and AI in appropriate ways to where they really can become synergistic. And so we ended up we started AI in-person masterminds. We call it the AI Adventure Mind because we want to really bring that to other people as well about getting out into nature and connecting and having that adventurous spirit, because you can free up more time because AI is doing all those robotic things for you.
Amazing. I think we have all the parts we need. Would you like to hear your story?
Let's go.
Um, there are moments when things go from bad to worse, where all you can do is really laugh. This happened to me one morning downstairs, mattress on my living room because my leg's broken and I can't go up and downstairs anymore. It's already taken me back to the emergency room and thrown my life in all kinds of shambles. And now I get a call from my landlord telling me that I need to move out of my home, the place that I've been in for years, the place I've been raising my son, who's now 2, and been building my business. In my most vulnerable moment, where some of the dreams that I had about being a dancer have been put on hold. And it seems like there's so much of my business that's demanding so much of me, so much of these tasks and time that take a lot of time away from me. And since I'm already dealing with a broken leg, I just feel exhausted. Like I can't tolerate these things anymore. But now something really needs to change. My landlord asked us if we can leave, and we don't have a choice. And I can remember sitting with my husband and saying, we need to go all in on this, in learning how to free ourselves up, and learning how to create more time, and learning how we can be served so we can take care of ourselves. And we decide to embark on a journey of selling all of our stuff and traveling the world and mastering and implementing the same process of freeing up our time. I wanted to have a way to have a crystal clear picture of the value of an hour and be able to assess even the smallest little bits of 5 and 10 minutes and how they add up and really take away from my time and my energy and the results that I get. I wanted a way to understand my own value of an hour and be able to make better choices of what I wanted to do that not only lit me up, but were more valuable and just more fun and enjoyable to do. So I could have more time to enjoy with my family and even healing myself. And I wanted something that was built with my family in mind, not just business for business sake, but to really create a freedom and a life that was in alignment. Now, this took many months and a lot of costly and painful mistakes of building this together for ourselves and some of the clients that we were working with. And it had been a lot of learning and a lot of challenge, but in some ways we were the happiest we've ever been too. And I can remember booking a month retreat in Puerto Rico after a bunch of speaking and a bunch of moving around, even with my broken leg, and having a surf hideout event. I can remember sitting homeschooling on the beach with my son, seeing emails from clients coming in, learning about the big aha moments and ways their lives have transformed, and just having longer days of rest and relaxation. And I can remember again sitting next to my husband and saying, like, this is it. This is what we're doing. This is what we're creating. The freedom to really live a life more fully and the amazing things that can come from your business when doing it. For me, it took breaking my leg to really shake me out of the cost of the tiny little things that end up draining most of the brilliant hours that you have in your day. And there's such a better way around it faster than you thought possible. And I'm going to tell you how to do it now.
So cool.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Yeah, you have such a genius and such a unique talent around storytelling and being able to really structure it in such a captivating way.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you can use it to share more of your message and impact more families.
Absolutely. Yeah, I haven't been able to yet share that story. So it feels really fun and fresh to hear. Thank you.
Amazing. So, yeah, close us out, Rae. Do you have any closing thoughts for us today? And where can we go to learn more about you?
I think closing thoughts are there's just such a power in storytelling and hearing different stories. And as you were talking, in first person, I was almost hearing it from a different viewpoint, which is really cool because I think as someone who lives out their story, sometimes it's hard to really see how it can all get pieced together. So again, I just think you're brilliant with how you do that. And it just really helps me double down on like the power of storytelling, and why that is so important to share it and, being able to feel someone's voice and heart behind what they've gone through, not just like a made up story, but like something that's been lived, and raw. Um, and yeah, people can come and find me and connect. I would love to hear if there's any takeaways from this story or anything like that. The best way to connect is either LinkedIn or Instagram works well. And thank you, Kyle. Thank you for your time and your genius and bringing that perspective to the table.
Thank you for your stories and your new perspectives and values. Rae, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Story Engine podcast. Thanks for listening to the Story Engine podcast. If you're an entrepreneur with a big message and a 6, 7, or 8-figure business, I'd love to help you craft your stage-ready story live on the show. Apply to be a guest at thestoryengine.co/guest. And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, leave a review, and hit subscribe. Because together, we are amplifying voices that change the world, one powerful story at a time. I'm Kyle Gray. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.